The Kevin Dome project is an experiment in carbon storage. It's to study how storage works, how to make safe and secure storage for long times, how to monitor the CO2, and how to model its behavior underground.
We're trying to store CO2 underground because the latest science has shown that CO2 is a contributing factor to global climate change.
We've chosen Kevin Dome to look at CO2 sequestration because we have an accumulation of CO2 that's been trapped here for 50 million years, and we can use that information to understand what traps CO2 naturally.
Well, the first phase is site characterization, which includes a seismic survey, and that's the part we're active in now.
This survey will determine the viability of a located area to store CO2.
The reason that we're doing a seismic survey in the Kevin Dome is to know where the formations are, how deep we need to go, and so we understand exactly what we're doing when we start to inject CO2.
The seismic survey is really important for this project because it provides detailed information about the geologic layers underground. It provides information that we'll use to design our monitoring program, and it provides data to help us develop our 3D models.
So a seismic survey involves sending sound waves into the ground, and those sound waves bounce off the different layers of rock so you can get an image of the subsurface.
Yeah, Vibes, go ahead and head to the next frac. Stand by. Roger.
We're on point here, ready to pressure up.
Have I-1, go ahead and set your tone.
Roger.
We use a large energy source, in this case a vibrator, which shakes the ground in a small motion, but a very precisely controlled motion. That sends energy into the ground in the form of motion of the ground. That energy reflects off of the rock layers. The energy is reflected back at the surface and captured by geophones, the same instruments you use to measure earthquakes, and records how those echoes come back up and the amount of energy contained in those. That data is then gathered and turned into a picture of the geological subsurface so that we have an idea of what the geology looks like below the ground surface.
The Kevin Dome is an inverted bowl shape, and we have a trapping layer, so the CO2 will float up to the trapping layer instead of moving laterally. And so that's the reason, part of the reason we're choosing the dome. The second reason is it's a natural source of CO2, which we needed. The third reason is the geology itself is very interesting, the type of rock that we're storing the CO2 in.
One of the most important rocks that we have is a cap rock. The cap rock is a trapping layer. It's a solid layer of dense rock, and that's what will hold the CO2 in place. Below that, we have a porous layer of rock, and that's a really great place to inject and store the CO2.
We have to seismic in the winter because we have a fall harvest and the spring planting, and we have to do it all in between, as well as dealing with the nesting time for certain birds. One of the issues that we do find out here is running into cultural resources, which we try to protect.
Cultural resources might be in the form of stone circles, teepee rings, cairns and bison drive lines, and encampment sites. This landscape and the ethos of Blackfeet culture is highly valued. We've managed to balance out a good working relationship that has been successful since we've been out here in avoiding cultural features and traditional cultural properties. Working in the Kevin Dome project has allowed us to prove that both seismic and archaeology can work together successfully.
There are a number of things that are really cool about this project. One of the most interesting things is that when this project is done, this will be the largest shear wave seismic survey ever conducted, and we'll have a data set that is very different from anything else that will be unique in the world, so that we'll have an unprecedented level of imaging and understanding of this area.
There's a limited number of these projects going on worldwide, and this is being really watched internationally to see what kind of information this will yield.
By doing a project like this, we're learning a lot about the science of carbon storage, and we're also learning a lot about the social and political framework. And we expect and hope that this information will help make future carbon capture and storage projects successful.
Yeah, this will be your last one. After this, good job. We're done for the day.
Copy that. Next quarter.